Hi there. Today on Typical Books, we're going to talk about some of the new releases coming out and a mini update on my Horror in 24 TBR. So, yeah, there are quite a few new releases, and I will note because I've been doing these about every 2 weeks now, one at the beginning of a month ish, and one around the middle of a month. This is the mid July catch up for what's coming out from HWA writers. And I don't put every single book here. So either checking horror.org/new releases to get all of them, or reading your newsletter if you're a Horror Writers Association member. That's the best way to get all of them. But I mean, there's lots of them. Right now, there are a lot of them. I think it's because we don't have convention season necessarily this year. There's lots of online support for horror writers. There's been a great online support, but nothing quite like the networking that we have and the sales floor that we have when it comes to meeting all the readers and meeting fellow writers at conventions. We just don't have that. So there's been a little bit of an uptick as far as the new books coming out or people using the free promotion on the Horror Writers site. So I don't have every single book there. Ones that strike my fancy and ones that are hard-boiled horror. Because of course I'm a horror fan. Anyhow, on with the little update on my Horror in 24 TBR. I'm going to start Rebecca tonight, more than likely, because I can read a full-length novel while I'm reading short stories that are contained within Shadows and Tall Trees, which I'm really enjoying. I picked a story called Camera Obscura that I thought would be more psychological. Turns out to be something a little different. And it's hard. I've discovered this is hard for me to pinpoint what exactly is psychological horror and when I can make an exception for when genres collide. So I know that Rebecca, to a certain extent, is psychological horror because most Gothics are, right? So I think I could double up there, but I'm going to just try and see what else I can find in Shadows and Tall Trees, because this is kind of doubling for red on the cover and my psychological horror, right? Speaking of red on the cover, I kind of wish I had picked this up first. Jack Ketchum's Red, and I didn't know it was a film. My husband didn't know it was a book. He had watched the film and it kind of stuck with him. This book was a find on a haul, which will be my upcoming video, a little bit of a horror haul, Hometown Horror Haul Part 3, I suppose. So yeah, I kind of wish. So I don't know, maybe if I get to this by the end of the readathon, I will plug it in as the book with red on the cover. No pun intended, right? Get it? Because there's red on the cover. Anyway, so yeah, that is my mini update. I've finished Haunted. I read some of the short stories that I read as a kid. I've read some vampire and werewolf stuff, so that appeases that. I'm going to read some more of those short stories. I picked short stories specifically because I went on a little vacation. I was going to do this update as far as the new books coming out on vacation because it's not like tough to do those updates without having my bookshelf or my comfortable home, or that I could do those updates on the go. But I was having so much fun meandering about in old lakes, visiting family graves, visiting family, and trying to stay as safe as possible, because I find as far as traveling a little bit, even within your home province or state right now, if you're going into an area that maybe isn't as vacation right now that typically is, people are still in vacation mindset and they're letting down their guard a lot. So I felt I was the person who was hand sanitizing all the time and mask all the time and a little bit more on top of it than some people who are either there every summer vacationing with their cottages, or people that have been there through this and have an idea that there's no real worry in the countryside when there is worldwide, right? So it was kind of weird. It wasn't like stepping out of the virus for a while, which I think a lot of people would think it is. It's certainly not. And I was maybe a little more vigilant because I was terrified to be traveling. But we did our best to keep everything safe and sound. So yeah, that said, I didn't do any recording. So that's enough of an update. Here are some new releases from Horror Writers Association authors coming up or already out. Now, there are two books in this list, and you'll know when I get to them, probably because I won't be able to contain my excitement. Two books that have been getting a lot of buzz. One in particular I have already picked up, and one that is going to be picked up. But we'll see them when we get to them. Okay, Demon to Me by Jennifer Soucy. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Soucy, I'm not sure. Layla survived years of addiction and trauma, burying the most brutal recollections of her past. She escaped hell, slapped a tourniquet on her toxic memories, and found a measure of peace as a drummer in Las Vegas. 10 years later, she's reached a crossroads between her insatiable thirst for vengeance or forgiveness for those who harmed her. And I'll have to say, if the book is written as well as a synopsis was, I'm sold. And I like the idea of a girl becoming a drummer to pound out her frustrations on the skins, as it were. Really like that. And I liked, We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. It had to do with a female-fronted rock band. And I really like female-fronted or drummers. What band has there are bands with drummers as front people, but hey, a girl drummer is always a unique thing, unfortunately, because they just are. And I would like to see this sort of story. Like the cover too. Tituba, the International Witch of Salem. This is from Dave Tamanini. I'm not sure how to pronounce that either. But ever-vigilant Puritan ministers in 1692 preached that Satan is sending witches among the true believers, but they are wrong. Reverend Samuel Parris, enslaved African woman Tituba, is behind the invasion. When Tituba sees her son sold off and he dies while attempting an escape, the anguish only a mother can feel crushes her. Then she gets angry. Very interesting, because this is based, from what I recall, from a little scholastic book I have called Hunt the Witch Down, and other great books on witchcraft. This is based in truth, so very interested to see that. I really enjoy the cover of this book. The Buck Stops Here by Sean Seaback, or Seaback. Not sure how to pronounce that either. I'm having a pronunciation day today, aren't I? So this is already out. These books are all already out. Sheriff Abigail Lane conducts a few traffic stops a week, has minimal paperwork, and cruises the town's mostly vacant streets. This leaves her plenty of time to read and keep her living space and work area orderly. But when Caleb Welsh gets murdered on his way home late one Friday night, she's forced to blow the dust off her badge and find the killer. I really hope that ends up in horror proper, and I think that we're looking at something like a True Detective. I just get this from the cover and the longer synopsis. I think it will be a little more steeped in mythology, but we'll find out. I really like the synopsis of this. This is coming from Inanna Publications, from Paul F. Butler, Mina's Child. In 1921, Mina and Jonathan Harker's daughter, Abri, starts to question the extraordinary adventures her parents claim to have experienced in England and the Carpathians. Middle-aged Jonathan Harker is haunted by nightmares that Abri assumes to be about her brother Quincy, killed in the Great War. I guess Quincy's named after Quincy. As the Harkers follow the thread of their unease back to its source, they are haunted by memories of Lucy Westenra and the manner of Lucy's death. Devil's Creek by Todd Keisling. I've just been a Todd Keisling fan, following his career from the get-go. This comes from Silver Shamrock Publishing and is out now. Surviving the collapse of the death cult that bore them was only the beginning for the Stafford Six. The real nightmare begins more than 30 years later with the death of their final protector and the awakening of the monster that fathered them. Fantastic looking, and this is the one book that I have already downloaded a copy of the ebook of. The cover of this book made me think it was something like Red Eye or like Sleeping with the Enemy or something like that, but it is a collection. One Eye Open, Strange Stories for Peculiar People, Volume 2 by K.G. Lewis, and this will be out soon. What happens when a boy wakes to find one of his eyes missing? Can an infomercial drive you insane? Is it possible for inanimate objects to get revenge? Why are whales falling from the sky? The answers to these questions and more are inside this collection of 16 terrifying, twisted, and thought-provoking tales. I really kind of hope that author buys some ad space on the Brian Keene or This Is Horror, one of those podcasts, so that I can hear those people read that description. specifically Bob Pastorella. And last but not least, The Living Dead by George A. Romero and Daniel Kraus. I should put in some fanfare or applause in there. This comes out by Tor and it is on its way. It begins with one body. A pair of medical examiners find themselves battling a dead man who won't stay dead. It spreads quickly. In a trailer park, a black teenage girl and a Muslim immigrant battle newly risen friends and family. In DC, an autistic federal employee charts the outbreak, preserving data for a future that may never come. On a U.S. aircraft carrier, at a cable news station, everywhere, people are targeted by both the living and the dead. We think we know how this story's end. We are wrong. So yeah, The Living Dead, George A. Romero and Daniel Kraus, posthumous story written together. And I heard somebody saying something about they had an arc of something that they're keeping secret. And that is already kind of a spoiler for anyone that follows a lot of booktubers and Instagrammers on Twitter. So I'm pretty sure that this is the book they're talking about because they said it was a collab. And that's probably the most famous collaboration coming out anytime soon. And I think that will be the next big thing. Call me crazy. I am no mind reader, but yeah, I think a lot of people in and out of the horror world are really looking forward to that particular story. And I wouldn't doubt, I haven't been following the news, but if the film rights haven't already been sold before anyone has read page one, I wouldn't doubt it. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So there you have it, some new horror books coming out. Coming up, I will have a haul because I got a very nice stack of wonderful horror paper books from Alice and the Bookman in North Bay. So I've got a lot of horror coming in the next video. And of course, by then I'll probably be closer to the end of my Horror in 24, maybe do a wrap up or at least an update there. And my review of Haunted by James Herbert. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to let me know if you're picking up any of these cool new reads or what you're reading right now in the comments below. And have an ooky spooky day.